Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to multiply matrices together. So here you can see I have two matrices, right? And when we multiply matrices together, we want to first look at the dimensions of these matrices, okay? So here, the dimensions, right? We have 3 rows, okay? So 1 row, 2nd row, 3rd row, right? 3 rows, so 3 rows. And we have 3 columns, 1 column, another column, and another column. So we have a 3 times 3 matrix here. And here we have 3 rows. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, we have 3 rows right here. And we have how many columns? 1 column and another column. So we have 2 columns. Okay, so when we look at these matrices, before we multiply, we need to make sure that the inner numbers of the dimensions match up. So here we have 3 and here we have 3. And this matches up, okay? So they're both 3, which is great, okay? So that means we can multiply them together. Now, however, on the other hand, if this number and this number were different, if the inner numbers were different, then that means we cannot multiply these matrices together. And then the product would basically be undefined if these two numbers are different. Furthermore, we can look at these outer numbers to tell us about the dimensions of the product. So here we have a 3 and a 2, so that means the dimensions of our product is going to be a 3 times 2 matrix. So now let's get into multiplying this matrix. So we know that the dimensions of the product is going to be a 3 times 2 matrix. So if we were to draw a 3 times 2 matrix, we would have the following. So we would have basically a matrix with 3 rows, right? 3 rows. And we would have that matrix to have 2 columns. So 3 rows and 2 columns. So we would have a box here for a number, another box here for another number, box here for another number. Then we would have a box here for another number, a box here for another number, and last box. So 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, and 2 columns, 1, 2. Perfect. So now that we have determined the dimensions of our final matrix to be 3 by 2, right? We are going to start multiplying, and to multiply, we have to first look at the first row of this matrix, right? Of this first matrix, and the first column for the second matrix, and that basically tells us what goes here. So the first row of this first matrix and the first column of the second matrix, right? First row and first column will basically give us the entry right here. This entry is also the first row, right? First row and first column of the product matrix. So first row of the first matrix and first column of the second matrix gives the entry of the first row and first column of the product matrix. So to find the entry that goes into the box here, we must look at the first row and first column, and we have to multiply corresponding entries. So here we have a 4, right, as the first one, and the 1 as the first one in the column. So we take these two together, we will multiply 4 times 1. Then we have an 8 here, okay, that's the second one in the row, and the 6, that is the second one in the column. So we're going to do 8 times 6 here. And then we have a 9 here, that's the third one in the row, and the -2 here as the third one in the column. So we're going to multiply these two together. So now I am going to multiply the corresponding entries together. So 4 times 1, right? Because the 4 and the 1 are both first, right? 4 is first in the row, 1 is first in the column, then 8 times 6, 8 times 6, because they're both in the second position, and then the third position, 9 times -2. So 9 times -2, we have to add these up, okay? After multiplying them, so we're gonna multiply them now. 4 times 1 is equal to 4, 8 times 6 is equal to 48, 9 times -2 is equal to -18, and now we just add them up. 4 plus 48 is equal to 52, 52 minus 18 is equal to 34. And so there we have it. This is going to be our first entry into the product, right? So right here, we will write 34. All right, so now we want to find this entry right here, right? So this is in the first row, second column, right? So first row, second column. So for first matrix, that has to be the first row. So right here, first row, second column. So second column is right here. First row, second column. So we have to take the same approach as we did with this entry here, right? We have to take each corresponding entry and multiply them with each other. To illustrate, we have the first entry here, 4, in the row, and the first entry in the column. So these two will be multiplied together. So 4 times -4, just like that. Plus, we have to add them together, so plus, now we have the second entry, 8, second entry, -9. So take 8 times -9, 8 times -9, right? And then now, the third one, so this one is the third one, 9, and 8 is also in the third one, but for the column, okay, 9 times 8, so write them in just like that. So now we are going to multiply them. 4 times -4 gives me -16, 8 times -9 gives me -72, 9 times 8 gives me +72. These two will cancel, and thus, we are left with -16. So -16 is what we will be left with. And so this entry here will be -16 right here. Alright, so now we're trying to find out what goes in here. So in order to do this, we basically need to recognize that this box is in the second row, right, second row of this matrix, and the first column of this matrix. So second row, meaning we have to look, when we look at rows, we look at the first matrix that's being multiplied. So second row, so second row in this matrix is right here. And first column, so first column, meaning we have to look at the second matrix and we see first column is right here. So we must multiply the entries that correspond with each other in these highlighted regions. Thus, that means we must take 2 times 1, okay, 2 times 1. So we must multiply 2 times 1. Then, following that, we must multiply -1, which is the second entry, times 6, which is the second entry, right? So second entry in the row times second entry in the column. So second entry in the row, -1, second entry in the column, which is 6, and then plus third entry. So 0 is a third entry, and -2 is a third entry. Third entry in the row is 0, third entry in the column is -2. So 0 times -2. And this is going to basically give 2 times 1 is 2, -1 times 6 is -6, 0 times negative 2 is going to be 0. And so here we get 2 minus 6, which is negative 4. Okay, so basically essentially what we did here, first entry of the row times first entry of column, second entry of row times second entry of column, third entry of row times third entry of column. So this gives negative 4 right here. I'm just going to separate this side work. So all this work here is on the side. So now we want to find the entry right here, right? And this entry, we recognize it's in the second row and second column of this matrix. Second row, second column of this matrix. So looking here, we need to find the second row for the first matrix. Second row, the first matrix is right here. Second column of the second matrix being multiplied. So right here. We will need to look at this as well. So similar to the other entries, we must multiply by multiplying the corresponding entry. So here, first entry of the row, first entry of the column will be multiplied together. 2 times negative 4 plus the second entry of the row times the second entry of the column. So negative 1 from here times negative 9 from there. So negative 9 plus the third entry in the row times the third entry in the column, which is 0 and 8. So we're going to multiply this and this together. 0 times 8. 0 times 8. So this is 0, it's just going to be 0. We'll have to write anything for the next step for this part. So 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Negative 1 times negative 9 is positive 9. Negative 8 plus 9 gives 1. So this here is going to be 1. So now we want to find what goes here in this box, right? Now, to find that, we can recognize that this entry here is the third row, right? Third row of this matrix. So third row. So we highlight the third row in the first matrix. Third row. And first column of this matrix. So we highlight the first column of the second matrix. So first column right here. And now, just like before, we multiply corresponding entries. So this is the first one in the third row, and this one right here is the first one in the column. So we're going to multiply those together. So we are going to do 3 times 1, right? 3 times 1. And then here we have the second entry times the second entry, second one in the row, second one in the column. So add 5 times 6, okay? 5 times 6. And now lastly, for the third entry in this row, okay? And the third one in this column is negative 2, right? So this is the third one in the row, 7 is the third one, and negative 2 is the third one in the column. So 7 times negative 2. So 7 times negative 2, just like that. Now we just multiply it together. 3 times 1 is 3. 5 times 6 is 30. 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. And now combining these together, 3 plus 30 is 33. 33 minus 14 is 19. So I'm going to write 19. So thus, here we will get 19 right here. So now we need to find this last entry. And to find this last entry, we need to recognize that this entry is in the third row. So third row of this matrix. So we need to find the third row in the first matrix, so third row in the first matrix, and it's in the second column of this matrix, right? Second column, so third row, second column. So we need to find a second column in this other matrix. So second column right here, okay? Because this box is in the third row of the resulting matrix, and the second column of the resulting matrix, so third row for this first one, this first matrix, and then the second column for this second matrix, okay? So we need to take these entries and multiply them together. So doing that, we have the first one of the row times the first one of the column, 3 times -4, so 3 times -4, okay, plus the second one of the row times the second one of the column, 5 times -9, so 5 times -9, and then the third entry of the row times the third entry of the column, so 7 times 8. So we take the 7, multiply it by 8, so I'm going to write plus 7 times 8, and now from here we do 3 times -4, it gives -12, 5 times -9 gives -45, 7 times 8 gives +56, and then adding these all up together we get -1, so write -1 right here, and so this last entry here is -1, just like that. Thus, we have the product of these two matrices that has dimensions 3 times 2 with the following entries right here. And so this brings me to the end of the YouTube video. Thank you once again for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, feel free to give this video a big thumbs up, and furthermore, let me know in the comments down below on your thoughts about this YouTube video, as I always love to know your thoughts. And if you are new to my channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I hope to see you next time for another math video. Bye!